Welcome to the Rise of AI virtual chat series. My name is Fabian Westerheide. I'm an entrepreneur and investor with a passion for artificial intelligence. And as every week, I'm inviting one interesting personality from the global AI industry to my show. And in this week, my guest was Erik Pfannmöller, CEO of the AI company Solvemate. And he is a business engineer by background, and we talked about the topic how to start an AI company. So if you're interested in entrepreneurship or artificial intelligence, you want to start your own company, stay online, watch this video and enjoy. Good morning. We are live and I say hello to everyone out there. This is our second edition of the virtual chat format, and if you have time, you can try to read this. It's one of my favorite t-shirts, and each week I have a new shirt for you, always in the context of AI. Our guest today is Erik, and I will introduce him in a couple of seconds. He's in the green room. He will join us live when we are ready. So first, I would say, please introduce yourself. Use the chat to send in your LinkedIn contact, your website. Don't do a lot of advertising. Don't post 4 or 5 times. Everyone sees it, when you do it once, but please use it. Add your Twitter link and whatever you know. We have a handful of people here live currently, and everyone else is getting the chat and will log in later. This will be live, or this will be recorded, and this will be able to be watched over and over again. We will also try to cut this to a video cast and maybe make a podcast out of this and distribute so the content can be accessible for everyone. Well, yesterday was not the best day for us, I would say. You might know or not, we organize every year the Rise of AI conference. And Rise of AI started as a community. I remember really well in 2014, I started a meetup group. And this reminds me, by the way, a lot of this format today. It started as a community event, very small. 10 people came. We had a great evening of a conversation. Then we had the first official meetup with 50 people, then 150 people. And then we started the Rise of AI conference. We had 350 people, 600 people, 800 people. And this year it was planned for almost 2,000 people. The German AI Week, plenty of things. And we all know why we're sitting here. We're sitting here because Corona came, something we didn't expect. Live events are dead. Everything physical is dead. We all switched to virtual, and I think virtual is great. I think virtual has a lot of potential, and we will extend this and we'll learn each time. So that's why I have a new screen for you now, right? It just was a painful moment yesterday, because yesterday we officially canceled Rise of AI. We got the legal paperwork from the government that can't do it and that was needed and necessary. And yesterday we canceled. But that means we are now here. And today my guest is Erik. And with Erik, I will speak about the topic of how to build an AI first company. So I would like now to introduce Erik before he's going live. And first, I invited Erik because he's an entrepreneur, he has investor experience, he's a sportsman, and he's a friend. He's such a friend that he was part of our wedding 3 years ago, or don't ask me, 3 years ago, yes, my wife is in the chat too. So 3 years ago, he was there with his wife. I know his kids, and as I say, if I know kids from someone, this is a benchmark for how close a relationship is currently. So to start about Erik, he was a sportsman in his youth. And a nerd like me has a website with his old pictures, and I was allowed to take one of those. And he describes his progress really well. So he started very young, and his family is doing, I think his brother is doing canoeing too, and he has all these pictures and all his careers, and he's describing each year how his season was. And he's like, with 18, he wrote, well, I entered the male competition this year to seniors, and it was tough and it was a struggle, but I'm getting better and I will improve. And this reminded me a lot about entrepreneurship. It's the same. You start small, you improve, you get feedback, you fight. I think this is really interesting. I will ask him later about this, what he learned from being a sportsman, an athlete, to being an entrepreneur. And by the way, he was successful with this. I mean, he was 12 times German champion. He was world champion, I would assume, in his class and age group, but he was a world champion. In his family, they even have Olympic medals. So successful family. He was successful. That means he did it right. He did it serious. He did it proper. And this is always for me, also from investor perspective, an indication when someone was really passionate about something as a kid, he might be as a person too. And then the usual, he studied later business at the HL in Leipzig and strategic management. He started, I call it e-commerce company for sports. So the topic was there because it was in the 2010s, 2012s. It was shopping club, was e-commerce. He grew it. He had his ups and outs. You know, you can read in the news about firing people, hiring people, down rounds, up rounds. At the end, he had over 20 million in funding, over 70 employees, official numbers from Crunchbase, 20 million in revenues. So e-commerce, 20 million revenues, no fail, no accelerated exit, proper thing. He sold it. Became a venture partner in the fund of his brother called Venture Stories and a couple of other wealthy people from the Munich area, had a small break and started the next thing. And the next thing was, I think it was 2015, he started Solvemate. And then we got to know in person, 2015, because I don't know, I think he contacted me and we knew each other from distance and we just met because in 2015, very few people were thinking about AI and even less people were investing in AI, like I did at Asgard, and less people were starting AI companies. So he started early. Before there was a trend, he saw it early. I will ask him why. And also just to mention, Erik is hosting the AI Unplugged podcast, also podcast in German. You can download and listen to. I was a guest in his show, so today he's a guest in my show, and that's how we welcome him. Now, let me try to bring him online. First the video, and then the audio. Welcome,
Hello, Fabian.
Great to see you. Lovely background, Erik. Tell us, show us more, please.
Yeah. First of all, I'm not in the office. I'm in a home office. We are somewhere in the forest. We have a small cottage which we bought 2012 for the family because the kids shouldn't grow up in like a big metropolis of Berlin. So I'm 70 kilometers south of Berlin in a small cottage, and it's in the middle of the forest. And I'm very lucky that last year I put like very fast internet here.
I would say, please in the chat. So first, for the people live there, ask questions if you have. You can comment anything. Second, we talked about this before, that this is even a business model, you know, that you have cottages in the woods, and one day when we have the money and the time, we'll maybe run this full time, you know, as an entrepreneurial next thing. I love it, being outside in the green. So what changed in your daily routine since you don't go to the office anymore and you are in your home office?
So basically, like the full company, Solvemate, we are fully remote since I think 6 weeks or so. As we are a B2B SaaS company and we like work on Slack and the G Suite, not a lot changed in my daily work routine. So I'm not meeting people, but I'm having a lot of Zoom meetings, and it works pretty well for us. My daily routine changed a lot. I think the first 2 weeks, like we took the whole family to like a super small cottage. Everything needed to be reorganized because kids are not in school. I wanted to work. I built my own like a desk in like a super small home, got a second screen, set everything up. But kids are running around here, and I'm very happy that my wife is supporting us and can take care of our 3 kids. They are 11, 7, and 5 years, and we also make our first steps in digital schooling. Yeah.
And who's cutting your hair now?
The hair cutter, you know, 16 millimeters. That's what I could do myself, and my wife is supporting me. But you know, hair cutting shops are closed these days.
So did you try it yourself?
I tried it myself, and it's pretty easy. If you just take 16 millimeters, it works. But my wife is supporting me. I'm happy that she does.
I have the argument with my wife. I tried it myself, and on the back it's terrible because I don't see it. Yes, and it's interesting. Some skills we have to learn. As even checking out YouTube tutorials how to make your hair in the background.
As a side note, Fabian, I quickly wanted to say how we met each other back in 2015.
Please.
because I was about to found Solvemate and we looked for the first seed round. We're going to talk about this later. And you're one of the very few people in the Berlin ecosystem investing into AI topics with your fund Asgard VC. And we got to talking. That's how we met, because I wrote you a message on LinkedIn. Hey, I'm about to fund an AI company. You look to be interested in this topic. Let's have a chat.
And to say honestly, if you did this in 2015, you got the attention. If you do this today, you're one of hundreds of people. So the whole market exploded, and we both are there early in, and I think we are destined to talk about running an AI company. That's what we focus today, entrepreneurship and AI first company. So you did e-commerce before. The jump from e-commerce to AI is similar like my jump. I did wedding dresses before. I was selling wedding dresses, and then I did a couple of AI things afterwards. So it's a pretty harsh jump and not logical. How did this come? How did this emerge for you?
Yeah. I think there is like this concept of quantum leaps, and I think my first quantum leap was from being a sportsman to being like an entrepreneur in the first place. So that was the first one, and then kind of I strive to make quantum leaps when changing circumstances. And it looks like I was a sportsman that turned to be a businessman and a founder, but there is an underlying theme, and the underlying theme is I always scored best in statistics and math. I was about to screw my first PC together at the age of 12, which was like this tower with the spinning discs back then. And I'm a very, very mathematical, like an IT nerd. I really like IT. I would love to be a programmer if I wouldn't be a business person. So after handing over this e-commerce company to my management, which was technical already, I figured out that if I'm ever going to found a company again, it needs to like really fit my DNA, and my DNA is processes, is IT, is mathematics, combine it with business skills, and you kind of figure out that this is either Bitcoin or machine learning back in 2015 or 2014.
Did you buy some Bitcoins?
No, I didn't. I did not, but I really deep dived into the Bitcoin technology back then in 2014. Because for me it was very clear to kind of, you need to have an underlying technology that like disrupts something, and this underlying engineering technology combined with business skills opens a startup or like business ideas. And so I really deep dive into Bitcoin, but and I decided against Bitcoin back then, and I never bought some because I kind of tend to be a black and white person, and I'm just fully focused on my company Solvemate.
So with crypto or blockchain technology and AI, you had both trends there. And I say it until today, they are the most valid trends. As you could say, it's 5G and DNA modification, but we both don't have any biological background, so it makes a lot of sense. Mm-hmm. And we'll come to this later, but your company is successful, it is growing, so you have survived. And you have the merge, and you're running the typical scaling phases from product, etc. Mm-hmm. What were your assumptions when you started? 2015, it's seeing where you are today, 5 years, like, what were your assumptions, and which of your assumptions you got right, and which did you say too early, too late, or you missed?
Mm-hmm. I would start 1 year earlier. So mid of 2014, I needed to decide whether I want to be a founder again. And I kind of first decided it needs to be a SaaS company and it should leverage some kind of Bitcoin or machine learning technology, but I didn't know anything about this engineering skill. So I took nearly a year to research everything I could about machine learning, literally from reading a 1,000-page math book from Peter Norvig. People interested in this know this book. I attended every meetup. I met a lot of people for lunch, and I conceptually wanted to understand which data are crunched by which algorithm to a trained model, and then you insert real-time data and make predictions. That's machine learning, that's AI. It's always the same, but I wanted to understand which kind of data feed NLP algorithms, which kind of data feed self-driving cars, how does the weather forecast work. And once you've understood this data model and this algorithm crunching, you kind of start to understand the state of the world and what is possible with algorithms and what is not. And back then, there was this moment after like 9 months of research, and I had a lot of ideas, and I always pushed the business ideas to the back because I needed to research first. There was this moment when you go to a meetup and you think, well, I've heard about recurring convolutional neural networks. I know what you guys are talking about. Again, I cannot program this, but I understood how it conceptually works. And there was this moment when you thought, okay, I have understood what is possible right now, and then it's about taking back your business ideas. And then, as typical, there is this sparking moment when I got a call from my father saying, son, I can't send emails anymore. and I was his service agent, and I was about to kind of, asking these diagnostic questions. Can you send emails yesterday? Which device are we talking about? How big is the email? Were you online yesterday? And these things. And I figured out this issue because I had expert knowledge. And and then there was this moment while I was reading a scientific paper about decision tree kind like logic. And then I figured out, well, that was exactly what I was doing. I was following a certain logic to find out his root cause. And that was the moment where the idea of Solvemate was born. And 5 years later, we have built this product and we solve millions of customer service requests automatically via chatbots.
So I sum it up. You had the technical interest. You dig into the market, you met people, you did what we do. You go to meetups, conferences, you read a lot of scientific stuff. Until you come to the point where you have heard it all before and it's starting that you switch from learner to user.
You need to have a certain level of confidence in AI to found an AI company. And that was I think it's the central theme of this talk. You need to understand the basics. Like, for example, I could never run a zoo without knowing anything about animals, right? So I need to study, I need to know how a zoo runs, and I need to know how to run a zoo from the business side. So I had no idea about this. And if you ever want to found an AI company, you need to fucking know what you're talking about. This nearly year of research really helps me even now to understand more. You need to know what you're talking about. So it is industry experience that you need to have to found a company. For me, I had a company in e-commerce. We had a call center. We had customer service. We had I know what customer service is about. You need to know the underlying technology, like this engineering skill. If you manufacture things, you need to know how to manufacture metal or so. I need to know how to manufacture, develop, engineer algorithms. And then, because we had an e-commerce company, we knew about tech and how to build a good web front end and these things. And lately, as I found, you need to have the business skills and understand these, which also had the experience with my prior company, going to business school. And all of this together makes kind of an AI company. But you cannot found an AI company as a business person saying, I want to apply AI, because you need to understand what you want to do, because the product is deeply ingrained in math and algorithms.
And I recall it right. You started writing the first code in Excel.
Yeah, we did an MVP. So it's about MVPs, and I think in an AI company or every SaaS company has this product market fit, and then you go to market. I think there is something more that is called an algorithmic fit. So before you have a product that you can sell, you need to have an algorithm that works. And for us, even before that algorithmic fit, there was, I have a concept, and you need to visualize the concept, and you need to kind of try this out. And yes, we started in Excel because we could model this really easy, and then we very fast transitioned to building this into a product and trying these things out.
So to sum it up, if you want to start an AI company, you need an MVP algorithm. So you don't need a product to show, you need an algorithm to work. Second, you should know the market, which I agree, and you should have a fair understanding of the technology. Because the main question is, as a business person by education, can you start an AI company? And you are proof you can. And I know other founders in my portfolio who have a business degree too, formally, and who started successful AI companies.
Yeah. First of all, I agree that there is two things. First of all, I'm not a one-man show. So there is a co-founders, and the first thing I did is add a CTO, because I have the business skills and we have a CTO, and he's a genius building the product and the architecture and managing the development. So I think you always need a technical counterpart, because I'm not being a CEO and a CTO, that's very special. So of course you need a co-founder, and my co-founder Jürgen is great in doing so. So that was one of the first things. We raised money and we started the company with 5 people. But of course, you as a business founder, because every company needs a business part and a tech part. It's an AI company. You need to understand the technical basics.
And so let's say you have the idea, you invested your time in digging into the market. When you started the company, was it bootstrapped legally, or did you already have cash then, in the same turn?
It was kind of bootstrapped, because I was in a small Switzerland office somewhere in Berlin doing the research, and then I met the first colleague on a meetup, and he said, well, I'm a student. I want to go into an AI company to program something. And I said, well, I'm about to found a company, so why don't you just work for me for the first month, and I'll buy you a MacBook for this. So that's kind of how it literally started. And so then we were like 3 to 4 months, like hiring people. We were a few people, and then my co-founder joined super early on, and then we raised our first seed round with like this mini MVP, this mini algorithmic thing. And from then on, we subletted an office, like just 5 people, and like this family time where like you're a business people and 5 developer, and you try to build this algorithm and try to understand how this works, what you conceptualized before. And I think that was 2016 was the year which we call algorithmic fit. It was back then when Mark Zuckerberg said in April 2016, you want to message a business the way you want to message a friend, and they opened Facebook for chatbots.
I think it was called, or?
Yeah. There was 2 things. First, they opened the platform of Facebook, and then they launched their own chatbot M, which they, by the way, shut down because it's super hard to do.
Well, wasn't it with AI? I think they purchased an AI company before to implement the technology.
Yeah, they purchased Wit.ai, an NLP platform where you can train intents, and like it's a basic underlying platform for NLP processing and NLP intent recognition. And on top of that, you can build bots. It's like the first wave of bots and these things. Facebook was open, and we built a fun game that is called guessing animals. You might know the party game where you put something on your forehead and you need to guess the person and who you are. That's kind of what we do. Kind of, we find out the intent. Customer service, it's about you have 1 out of 100 standard requests, and hundreds of thousands of people are calling each year. So it's about finding your request and letting to execute. So the core of our product finds the customer intent super fast, and then lets the end consumer execute it in real time. So we were building this super fun bot, not about guessing persons, about guessing animals. We launched a chatbot like a week after, because we've been working on this before. We worked on chatbots before they came to Facebook. So we launched it. It went viral, and tens of thousands of people played the guessing animals game. Like, they answered questions. How much legs? Is it a mammal? Does it have fur? Is it black? Does it have a trunk? Is it gray? Is it big? Yes, it's the elephant. Our algorithm solved that problem, and we could even handle wrong answers of end users, and we could train new animals into the system. So in the end, in 2016, we had like hundreds of animals trained into our system. Our system got it right with more than 85%. And that's what we said, well, we managed to not only have the experience of finding the animal, we could also train the system to add new animals into the system, like adding new intents, adding new customer service request types. And so we said, we have nailed this, and that was the moment of end of 2016, where the next stage it was about, because then it was about building a product on top.
So you started your technology, testing it for free with a game.
I would say we didn't plan that to happen, because we didn't know that Facebook was opening that. We just had fun. We launched a Facebook Messenger bot because we wanted to test the technology, and it went viral. Like, because it was fun to play. You have I think it's not live anymore because we took it off, but like, it's a combination of, we needed to test. We wanted to test it for ourselves because we wanted to have a public messenger bot, and then it went viral. So we had a lot of fun doing that in that time. I still remember the days where, the numbers are growing. So yes, that was our algorithmic proof that we could manage to find animals.
Okay. So in between, I will get the first user question. Okay, and this is from Sebastian. And Sebastian asked, would you think it's possible to build not only an AI first company, but an AI research company like DeepMind in Germany? So something product focused and research focused. What do you think about this? Let's say something like DeepMind here in Germany.
First, we need to understand the business model of a research company and how this works, because founding a company always needs to be a business behind. DeepMind, when I recall right, is a subsidiary of Google, and they are funded by this. The point is, are they a cost center, or are they have an actual revenue model? I don't know this because I'm not an expert, but research companies, you do?
Yes, it's a huge cost center. I think the last numbers was like 500 million cost and 5 million in revenue consulting or something like this. Or it's huge cost center.
I would assume so too. So the question is, is it a company or is it just a project or something like a strategic research initiative? And founding a research company needs to have funding, because on research, that's like when we do AI algorithm research, we don't know the outcome. That means we don't know what's going to happen. It's like pharmaceuticals. You need to invest to find out something, but you don't know the business result first. So is it a business? I don't know if research is a business, because even if you research like vaccinations for COVID-19, you need to know that you're selling these vaccinations later. So research is not a company, it's kind of a to-do. And the question is, how is it funded? It typically is funded on the state, on universities, on state grants, on European government grants. So of course you can do so, but who's going to fund 500 million or like 100 million to someone?
I fully agree. So there are business models working. It's the DFKI, the German Artificial Intelligence Research Institute. We have Fraunhofer and Max Planck who are doing AI research too. You have a lot of universities. All of them are partially funded by government, substantial funded, and then they get grants. They have to write proposals, or they get paid by corporations to research something. But all of this is mostly non-profit. They don't have a profit, so it's not a business model. So the answer for you, Sebastian, the chances are very low. It's unless you have.
But if he knows someone who gives him like a lot of money to start this, like you get the first money, get the first million, you hire super smart people, and the next step, you apply for the next grant with your research results, and then you maybe get a sponsor from the economy. So you can build a research company, but it's more a non-profit, and I think it needs to start with a big research grant.
Because this comes to the topic where I say you can't bootstrap AI really, because as you said, AI is a lot of experimenting. You need data, you need processes, you need resources, infrastructure, and you don't know the outcome right away. You need to tweak it quite often. So I would say this is a challenge currently still, because there's not so much abundance of open source data and open source tools. Your perspective on this? I mean, you got the seed round.
If you build a B2C app for the iPhone, you can build this alone in days or weeks, and you can test the MVP and you can iterate and research. For us, it took around 1.5 years to launch our first product to get the first unpaid beta customer. Let me
1.5 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Let me repeat that. It was 1.5 years from like the first people started to, we got the seed round, we got the money, we had this algorithmic fit, we launched this thing, and then kind of we figured out what the product should look like. Because after having had algorithmic fit, we started thinking about who would buy this thing and what would be our go-to-market strategy. And let's build a SaaS product on top that people can build their own chatbots to automate their own customer service, to free their service teams. So the point is, you need to fund that upfront, because there was no revenue even when we launched. And then it took another 6 months until we had the first paying customer.
So 2 years down the road.
For us, it was 2 years. Of course, this we did something completely from scratch. And there is no Google TensorFlow thing that can help us, because that is not a standardized case. So we need to invest. And if you do a B2B AI company, even a B2C AI company, you can have an idea of a product, but you don't know if the algorithm is going to deliver in the end. You just don't know that. And if you don't know that, and we come to this later, one of my key learnings, you asked that a few minutes ago, is you need to have more money than you think it takes. So I asked, like, I had this concept in mind, and I asked a few
patience
people,
investors.
Yeah, yes. I asked a few people, how much like developer month do you think it's going to take to develop this kind of product that we can make some revenue? Because that's what you need to have to raise the next funding. And people said X. And I thought, okay, I'm going to have 2X. Because it takes longer, and it always takes longer. It always costs more money. If I should do it again, I would raise 3X of the amount that I believe it will take. Because it's research in the beginning.
So I have a handful of AI companies in the portfolio. All of them are AI B2B. Not all of them are SaaS, honestly. It's very hard to build a SaaS at the end. It's project-based and implementation features, and then you have SaaS. In contrast, I would rank them, let's say, degree of AI-ness. Your company is significantly lower than others. I know it. But what you did right is you solved a problem which was very painful. and you made it easy and accessible without over-engineering, without selling them, this is the best AI of the world, this is solving your problem. And describing it from my world, what Solvemate does, it's not only a chatbot. I learned it the way one of their clients, they're selling Bluetooth speakers. I think that was one of your examples of Bluetooth speakers, and they had 200,000 calls a year because people were not able to connect the Bluetooth speaker to the Wi-Fi or something else. And with your solution, you were able to reduce this 50, 60, 70%, like reducing the call center and the emails to a self-providing intelligent chatbot, which is giving me the problem in 80 or 90% confidence within a couple of minutes. And being a user myself, if a bot can solve it within 1 or 2 minutes, wonderful. I don't have to pick up the phone. No one likes to pick up the phone.
Yeah. We live in an economy, like in an instant economy and of instant gratification. We have Spotify, Netflix, and everything on demand. So you don't want to wait in line to get someone on the phone. You don't want to send an email and wait 2 days for an answer. You want to solve your customer service requests in real time. Today, we are solving millions of customer service requests from various industries, from e-commerce to tech companies to SaaS companies to banks. And banks can configure the chatbot in a SaaS environment, take it live within days, and then, like, with a chance of more than 80%, people find what they want and do not need to call, which means happy end consumer, but also happy agent, because I talk to service agents, they don't want to answer the 50th time a day the same stupid question, like, hey, can you send me a copy of my invoice? This is what a bot can do. I want to change my address. Yes, of course we can do this. We can even fire scripts to execute processes inside a company. So
it's automatization. So yes, something which a human has to do, you're doing virtual just 10x faster and cheaper.
If you think about a chatbot, like for customer service or for like marketing or like sales, it's two things. First, find out what the customer wants as fast as possible. That's what we do in typically 23 seconds. We find out what they want and then let them execute their desire on first touch. That means given data, legitimate the user, find out what they want, execute scripts or send over data. Sometimes it's only information that they look for, but give it to them on the first touch in seconds, on the go, on mobile, wherever they are. That's what we do.
Okay. Second question.
I wanted to come back. I wanted to comment on one point, what you said about the degree of AI-ness.
Yes, please.
I think it's not right to call a company an AI-first company or so. It's just a tool that you use. So think about in 1995, you would have said to a company, well, your degree of using the internet, like something. Like we are maybe in 2003 now with AI compared to the internet time. So you would never ask a company, well, are you using the internet anymore right now? Or like even 2010, it's like, are you using AI? And to what extent? Yes, we use the internet. Yes, we use algorithms. And I think there is AI first companies. That means if you turn off mathematical calculations, would the product work? So is it rule based or hard coded? And we are AI first. That means if we turn off, nothing is going to work. And the second question is, what is the degree on technological advancement? So are we using the most super fancy, deep convolutional recurring whatever networks and use billions of data points like Tesla is using for self-driving cars? No, we don't. Do we use fancy algorithms to do something super great with it? Yes.
Yes.
So I believe it's totally irrelevant. Like you can do like deep vision video algorithms, or you can do easy algorithms. The point is you need to solve a business problem with a technology. And the internet was a technology. AI is a technology. Bitcoin is a technology. You just leverage a technology to build a product. And that's what we always need to keep in mind. It's not about the AI. It's about the AI that is a technology that enables companies to thrive.
To sum this up, AI is not depending how complicated it is. If you use mathematical models and if you turn them off, it doesn't work, or it still continues to work, then it wasn't essential. Second is, and I see, but to solve a problem, you don't need to sell complicated AI. You can, it's like under the hood. It's like a fancy car and it's very good engine below, but no one is seeing this.
Yeah. One thing that we truly, just to keep on that, one thing that we learned is B2B buyers, they don't want to deal with AI, they want to have a solution. And we talk about, like, we changed in the past 2 years our communication from, we talk about, like, when AI was really near, people, wow, what are you doing? Which kind of algorithms? People don't ask these questions anymore. They ask about business results. And if you are in any business department in any company or any person, I don't care how things are working. For example, on my iPhone, I don't care how Apple produces these photo forecasts for me. I just want to get the results out of that, and AI must work under the hood, and that's important.
And that leads wonderful to the question from Michael, who asked, he says, AI companies are very resource intensive to build, and the real customer benefit is often not visible right away. It takes data and time to train AI system. He would like to know from you if you have some advice how to convince clients or investor to jump on board early, even the technology is not fully at potential.
I would say there was two parts on that question. The first one, I would like to answer. AI is state of the art. It's super hard to build, and that's why it takes resources, time, and super smart people. Again, let me compare it to the internet 20 years ago. It was the same thing. Today, you can build a web shop and a website in 5 minutes. 20 years ago, you couldn't. It was resource intensive. It took time, and nobody believed in what you're going to do. They thought you were crazy. The same thing applies here, and I'm using this analogy a lot to make people understand. Yes, it is resource intensive, and it will be easier over time. We have frameworks now in place. We have like standardized libraries that we use. We have like Python developed in the last years to be like a good language. So things develop, it will get easier. It depends on the degree of complexity of your AI, how much resource intensive it is, which I said a few minutes before. To answer the question about investors, there is nothing special in AI to convince investors. You need to have like I think a rock solid team and background of the founders is still important. And then the business idea that you want to solve needs to fit the market timing. Market timing is something really important. Are there people that believe in the product that you want to build in the near future? So if you're too early in a market, you're not going to get customers because you have not crossed the chasm. If you're too late in the market, it's going to go to competition, and a lot of people want to do the same. Market timing is important. And the third one is, I think, a compelling, like, as I said, founder team timing, and then the compelling story of why are you going to solve that problem, and to have this hypothesis of these data are crunched like this, they're going to make this model, and this model will make good predictions. That's like if I would invest into AI, in addition to team and timing, I would ask for the algorithmic hypothesis and to have proof around this that it's going to happen, and it's going to work out the research.
So to add my perspective, it's always team. You need a great team. Then it's about a business model approach. At the end, you never know how you earn money. It's just figuring out, because you don't know what the client needs at the end. So it's still believing in a team who has the capabilities, and it's market. As I said, it's a question of time. As we said, Facebook, there were Friendsters and other networks before. Only one survived and emerged. There were search engines before Google, and there are search engines after Google. Still, Google was in the right spot at the right time. Sometimes it's a question of luck and timing or patience. And for this, you always need someone in your team who stays with you through up and outs. And second, investors who are patient and even can give you more money. That's tricky. But if you today go and pitch AI to an investor, you got the attention. Yes, every investor out there is considering AI by now. That was not 2015.
Yeah, there was this moment of, the internet 20 years ago. There was this mobile first moment where everyone was about to launch apps. And there is a timing point, and I think the first hype is over for AI investments. It's if you put AI to your pitch deck, that's like not the best anymore. It's about, I want to solve a problem and I leverage a certain technology, and it just makes sense. It's like a new trend. Every new company should be data driven and use kind of prediction to do something great, because the products themselves, I wouldn't say they are built, but the next level after like internet and SaaS and super good products is like doing some great predictions and using data.
So let's talk about competition for a second, because I did a study in 2017 mapping global AI ecosystem everywhere, and the largest bulk of AI companies was in this sector of communication, mainly chatbots, customer support, everything. I was invested in a company called Solvemate, who did problem solving via email, something like this. First, what I learned is NLP is not easy. understanding language is something still tricky. And even for us, humans to humans interaction is not solved. It's not that everything is finished out there. Second, a lot of companies out there. My thesis is because of a lot of, especially Berlin entrepreneurs who were in e-commerce or marketplaces or lead generation before, they knew the problem and they wanted to solve something they know themselves. There are few people in Berlin or Silicon Valley working in engineering departments or at an automotive company in new automotive problem or industry problems. That's my assumptions. So you verified it a little bit. How do you see competition? Like when you emerged, do you feel competition? Do you think there is competition, or is the market way too large for this?
There was a lot of questions into one question. I tried to break it down. The first one is yes, chatbots is a big topic. It's a multi-billion, not even trillion thing that's going to change the society, how we communicate. That because everyone knows that, because it's so obvious that you want to have everything at your fingertips instant, and virtual assistants, that's how we communicate as humans. What Mark Zuckerberg said, you want to message a business the way you want to message a friend, that is just fucking right. Just full stop. There was a ton of hype, ton of companies emerged. A lot of them already changed their business model or didn't exist anymore. And there was an overpromise. There was a hype, and chatbots did not deliver to that because of what you just said. NLP is just so hard. Don't get me wrong, NLP is great. I am dictating my WhatsApp messages. I love NLP. It's going to help me. Google is suggesting me when I type in Gmail emails. NLP is great, but it is not so obvious to have a human-like conversation in a multi-step thing and to hold context over time, because we humans, we learn with millions of words natural language. My kids learn irony at the age of 5 and 6, and I really deep dive into the NLP topic. We at Solvemate, we have a very different approach, a very pragmatic one. So we do what we call dynamic decision trees, and now after a few years, we are adding back NLP on really small partial parts to our product. So we came from a different part, and that's why we can go live so easy, so fast with our clients, have so much pragmatic results, and then basically have the best of both worlds in our chatbots. And that's why they are working so great. We had back then, 5 years ago, I found a contrarian truth, and the contrarian truth you just said, NLP is hard, full stop. So why don't we have a different approach to chatbots? And again, there is rule-based chatbots, and then there is like deep learning free text chatbots, and we combine the thing because we have multiple choice and we are dynamic. So it's a very special approach that works pretty well. That's why it also took so much time to build in the beginning.
Okay.
Before you ask about competition, I need to answer that second part. I think the market is so early. The biggest competition is not acting for companies, because they just haven't understood that like customer service automation is something that is a pain for them. So of course there's competitors, there is people that just say they do good chatbots and people that have a lot of buzz around, but the market is penetrated at maybe 0.5%. So the biggest competitor is people are not acting like business buyers.
And this is something good. I always say, hey, AI market is so huge, we have only 1% penetration. Yes, if you look at SAP and other companies, nothing's running AI. It is, and this leads really good to the question from Claudio. He asked, at the end he says he has a strong background in AL, as a machine learning and AI, and would like to start an AI company. What does he need to know? What business knowledge does he need to know to be a CEO or CTO? So for the technical people out there, not coming from the business side, from the technical side, what is your advice you can give them?
Basically do the opposite of what I did. I spent nearly a year researching about machine learning, spend a year and research everything you can about how to fund startups, how to run startups, how to do funding rounds, how to hire people, learn everything about HR law, learn about company strategy. You don't need to attend a full business school like I did, but learn about this stuff, because either if you're a CEO, you need to have a ton of business skills because it's about strategy and funding and finances and HR and all these topics. If you are a CTO, you need to have the same knowledge, but just on a lower penetration. You also need to know about company strategy, product strategy. You also need to hire people. You need to manage people. So get your ass inside a room and watch a ton of Coursera courses, like I did about machine learning. Just the other way around.
Read, for example, my blog, www.bootstrapping.me. I mean, I wrote for 10 years about exactly this. How do you hire people? How do you find a business idea? How do you find a team member, a co-founder? I have plenty of positive and negative experiences. I had a co-founder who was really, let's say, intense. Now I have my wife as a business partner, which is a different level of complication, but works really well. What I learned is assemble a team first. Find people who share the vision and the idea and who are complementing you. So don't put two business guys in a room and say we start an AI company. Look for business people out there. By the way, there are tons of smart business guys out there who have no clue about technology and who would love to have a smart CTO who can build them a product. Yeah. I think this is a wonderful combination. It's way better as a CTO-like person to find a good sales person as the other way around. It's way harder to find technical people out there. So you, Claudia, you have a wonderful start for this. Looking at the time, we still have a couple of minutes. So let's come to the learnings. 5 years running an AI company, 5 years running an e-commerce company before. What changed? Like, what different skills did you need and what did you learn? Differences? And with just summary, like 5 years AI, 5 years e-commerce.
Okay, that's interesting. So that's a very tough question. The first thing, a degree of execution and I start again. E-commerce was very execution driven. It was something, hey, we need to build something to grow fast. We need to like build a logistics center, do marketing campaigns, get more products. And like a lot of people are needed that need to be orchestrated, that they are working well. In an AI company, you need less people, but this work needs to be really streamlined. So we are really in project management, into documentation, into I would say we are an extremely organized company. We have meeting series, we have conference pages, every meeting has notes. We call it standard operating procedures about how to use Slack, how to run meetings, how to use calendar invites. You need to be extremely digitally organized in running an AI company compared to a normal company that ships physical goods. You need to be physically organized. So the execution or the excellence is in the organization of your team, and you need to have this mindset of whenever there is a recurring problem, there is a software for that. So I'm scheduling appointments with a software. Like we have a software for documentation, we have a software for virtual onboardings. All the developers have like tons of tools to deliver, to have continuous integration, and it's about excellence on a virtual level. I think that's what changed. And I think it's mentally more challenging because the solution, like that's the first thing. The second argument, in e-commerce, the solutions sometimes are obvious. So, hey, okay, you're going to do this. Yeah, please solve it like this. Just like buy this logistics center, get this done, buy these new goods and just build it. The solutions in SaaS or in AI SaaS are very hard to find. So you need to discover what customers want more deeply before you start even programming. So customers don't know what they want, and it's so hard to find out how the product should be. That's like we spend much more time in planning our features and doing strategic market research. Summarize.
I love this. E-commerce, physical process orientation, AI company, virtual process orientation. At the end, it's about processes. Just as an example, when you visit the office of Solvemate and you go to the large meeting room, you have 2 balls of marbles. And what I like about Erik, he was reprogramming his team. So what he did as an incentive structure, if you come too late, you have to drop a dark marble in a box. And if you're on time to a meeting, a red one, you get a clean one and invisible one. And if there's a marble in it, it's not your name, a red one, there's a punishment. It's a collective punishment for everything. And what I learned is I visited him, let's say 3 years ago, I saw the marbles, this stack, and the good ones this stack. When it came 2 years later, it was almost to 0. So within 2 years, he was reducing significantly that people didn't come too late anymore. He was reprogramming them that they all showed up on time.
Everything is about processes, and it's like it really annoyed me that people were 5 minutes too late to meetings. Just as a quick side note, and I really looked for the best solution. As I said, like it's not AI related, but you need to look for the best solution to a certain problem. And this, we call it the marble rule, is like coming late to a meeting, you put a red one, coming on time, you put a green one. We don't count individual scores, but we count the number. If they are filled up, we count them, we put it to our Confluence, and we document it. And you see that people are just so on time, and I really love this because it drives efficiency in a virtual company. And this is one of maybe 100 processes that need to run in a company.
So after the Q&A, Erik, by the way, will stay in the chat for a couple of minutes longer. So if you have more questions, I have one more, but if you have more questions, you can direct them to him. He will be there around 12-ish, so time for this too. One question is coming from Andre, and he asked for industries positive affected by Corona in terms of AI. I think this is a really nice question we can discuss now, as it's almost the final one. Where is Corona having a positive effect?
We just recently did like some analysis, and some are obvious, like travel is down, restaurants are down, hotels are down,
Yes.
That's clear. But some are thriving. For example, e-commerce companies are thriving. Not all types of e-commerce, there's some products that don't thrive, but most of them do. Communication, I think every SaaS company that does some automation, like Solvemate, I think we will be going out of this like recession stronger, because there is a more need for automation at SaaS. To answer that question, I think first of all, it's the need for solutions. So how do you need more AI these days? I think if your business thrives, which means you're positively affected, you need to analyze, you have more data, and that means you can do more AI. I don't have a clear hypothesis which company leverages AI, but I have an hypothesis of which industries in general thrive. Sorry to not give you a clear answer.
I agree. Everything which is, by the way, virtual will thrive. Everything physical, this is punished currently. I mean, it's physical contact too. Online events will thrive, software will thrive, automation will thrive. I mean, Zoom is skyrocketing. All this will be, when the mess is over and people having a clear head again, there will be so many business opportunities. Some very smart people said the best time to start a company is during a crisis. If you get the funding, and the funding, by the way, is still there. All the funds have plenty of funding. The central banks are pouring billions into the market, so money will not be the bottleneck.
Yeah, and why is that? Because of a crisis. Now you see problems that rise, and there is some external factor that changed something. And Fabian and me yesterday talked, and I said, "Hey, the future is virtual conferences," because that's like I attended a virtual conference. It was awesome, and I don't like to travel a lot, but I would like to have great content, and I don't need to visit people physically. So I see virtual conferences thriving. If you now are about to start a virtual conference series, do it, because you're maybe going to do it better than like the old physical 10-year-old trade fairs, because there is a mega trend for that. Like Fabian does, but he's a digital native. So,
by the way, if you want to start an online business, contact us, because with the team, the skills, and we're doing this for a while, so we're happy to help, to assist, to figure this out. One more good question, which I like to ask now, is Erik, what was your biggest challenge and how did you overcome it?
In what? In life? In private?
I would say your life, okay, and second, in your company.
That's a good point. I think the biggest challenge in life to overcome is to produce, like as a founder, to produce more energy than you think you can, because you're not a light bulb. That means you're consuming energy. You're creating energy like a power station, and the core thing that you need to have is energy, because as a founder, you're a problem-solving machine at the one side, and at the same time, you need to have visionary energy. So it's about creating energy, and I think it's a lifelong learning for me to create more energy to solve bigger problems, to do that. So it's a question of self-motivation, and that is what needs to be overcome to found a company in the first place. Also, at Solvemate, I think I would like to be faster. So like there was a few strategic learnings that we have made, because of course we make mistakes, and I would like to be faster. That means having more strategic foresight, because in the end, as a founder, you need to like have an hypothesis, and you know kind of the goal, and then you need to find your way. And I would like to take one or two shortcuts, maybe saving half a year in development time in the beginning, maybe iterating our go-to-market strategy, understanding our customers faster. There is nothing I could mention specifically, but I think each step, like having more professional foresight.
I like the part of the energy, and I think I will give it to the editor, maybe make a small video out of this. Like, the answer. What is the biggest challenge? How to re-energize. Last question, how do you re-energize? And by the way, I love the birds in the background. It makes me feel great.
I'm a very, very digital person. I spend my whole day in front of the PC and knowing all keyboard shortcuts and being a digital native. But I love the exact opposite on the weekends. We have a wood-fired oven here, and I'm chopping wood with an axe. Kids are keeping you healthy. We go on a trampoline here, we go for a walk. I drive 5 kilometers to the next petrol station to get some ice cream for the kids. But we also do this in non-COVID-19 times. So I'm spending a lot of time out there in nature. It's rejuvenating for me to kind of have this exact opposite. I'm also doing a lot of sports. I ran a marathon a few years ago. I will cycle over the Alps. Maybe not this year. I plan to cycle over the Alps this year, so probably that's not going to happen. But doing sports, doing physical activities, being alone in the super clear nature rejuvenates me.
Wonderful. Great last words. Everyone else, stay please online. Erik, thank you for your time. Thank you for your sharing. Please stay in the chat. There are 2 more questions which were a little bit more detailed. You might can answer them. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. It's a pleasure.
Talk to you again.
Bye-bye.
So, and it's if you do something live, I have to tell you, it is not. I need to focus for a second. So, thank you for being here. I saw there was a constant flow of people. I saw the numbers. It grew like bam up, and then it stayed on a high level. Some people joined. Those who haven't greeted personnel yet, who came in later, hello, welcome to the Rise of AI virtual chats. And each week I will invite one interesting personality to talk about AI. It can be a demo, it can be an interview. I will not have keynotes. I think they are not the right format. So you can suggest, tweet it, blog it, send me here comments, send me an email, however you want to, about speakers you would like to have, like I should invite. I have a list here behind me of the top 10 AI people I follow and I like, and I will ping each of them until they have accepted. And yesterday I started, I already have some really interesting people who will join us. One reason Rise of AI conference will not happen, so I invited them over the virtual chats. So will be. Second is topics. I would like to figure a little bit out what you're interested in. Do you want to speak about AI in business, AI in ethics, AI regulation, AI technical, or do you like to have the mixture of everything? Everything around, and each week it's a different topic, and you join when you like the topic, or you don't join when you don't like the topic. As again, this will be also a podcast, maybe a video cast, so this content will be out there for a while. We want to generate not only interactivity here right away, but also something long-lasting. I like the activity, as usual, ask questions. This question part works really well. I have the nice tool here where I can click answer question now, so everyone later can just see the snippet of the answer there. Next talk, next week, is with Beryl. And Beryl, she is a researcher, and she has a very multi-ethical background. I think she's from Turkey, studying and teaching in Amsterdam, or in the in Netherlands, and now in quarantine in Sweden. So she is like all over the place, truly European. And her research field was coming from image recognition, and today it is trustworthy AI. And she says she will talk up with me about opening the black box of AI. Honestly, I have no clue. So I will be very curious. I will go into the talk with her and asking her, what is trustworthy AI? How do we find it? What criteria needs? For example, how can I code moral and ethics into machines? Do we still need this problem? So it will be an open conversation. It will be interesting. It's also important that we have female AI researchers on stage. Honestly, very hard in the market to find someone who's working in this field. So I'm very happy that we have all these factors coming together. So next week, it will be Thursday again, but I think it's 3 p.m. So register. Veronica will share the link here so you can sign up for this too. And this will be the next call. And then I am almost on time. 2 minutes left. I don't have to use them. I say thank you again for being here. It was wonderful information. We are doing this for you, for me. I mean, I enjoy it too. I have a team everywhere in the other rooms or in the office who are there too. I think my mother even tried to log in and she couldn't do it. So I need a chatbot to solve this next time. I think my father failed too, but everyone else is here. So kudos for this. Alex, if you're too late, you can rewatch the video after I have pressed on end this broadcast. Else, we have plenty lined up. You will get all an invitation for the Rise of AI Summer Edition. We are planning something. We will have in November 2 summits for AI, where we do hybrid events. So it will be free or maybe free for everyone to watch virtual. But if you want to be physical there, meet the speakers physical, want to do business physical, well, you have to pay because we have costs for this. But there will be summits for AI and strategy. And then there will be summits for applied AI. So opportunities too. If you're interested to speak or advertise or be a content partner, something like this, ping us, ping Veronica. Happy to do this. So for now, enjoy this Thursday. Stay home, stay safe, and we'll hopefully meet again next week. Have a great day. Bye.